Welcome everyone to WWE SmackDown, or at least to watch along on these here Tom Colohue channels for it. Tonight we are seeing the return of Kurt Angle after a long hiatus, essentially since being retired by Baron Corbin, as well as more build for Gunther and of course Sheamus and Butch versus the Usos, which is what we are opening the show with. I am your host, your in many ways cruise director, Tom Colohue. You are joining me here live, because you can't really pre-record a live watch party, can you? If you'll forgive me, I'm still kind of setting up. It was a little bit quiet, not quieter, a little bit colder than I would have liked. So I've added a bit more heat to the room. They are hyping up Kurt Angle's appearance. Certainly Kurt Angle would be a very good target for Bray Wyatt, and that's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on. We have the official contract signing for Gunther versus Ricochet. We've seen it before, we'll probably see it again. This one will be a match in a long series thereof. Welcome Brad, who is saying hello, first person there. Justin says ready for the shiniest wizard, and Carmelina says hi as well. Welcome everybody. Tegan Nox did return on last week's SmackDown and is expected to make an appearance alongside Liv Morgan, her new tag team partner, at some point tonight against Damage Control. There aren't really any other big heels in the women's division. In the tag teams, outside of the obvious choice of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, though I do expect we're going to see some Ronda Rousey and some Shayna Baszler at some point over the course of the night. If you are watching on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button. Every thumbs up makes a big difference, and we are only 2 subscribers away from 1,870, so if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. How these shows usually work is it is largely led by you, the viewers, and the chat that you put in. I'll be reading out all of your comments basically. There's only a few that I will skip if I don't think you're talking to me and talking to someone else. You lead the conversation here, and we also have wrestling to talk about because we have SmackDown live on our TVs as we speak. We're seeing a recap at the moment of Solo Sikoa destroying Matt Riddle while Kevin Owens chases people off with chairs. Riddle, of course, has been signed off at the moment and will likely be returning early next year. Sean says, surprise Usos are opening. I figured this would be the main event. I agree, and I kind of expected the same thing last week, but here we are with that. Certainly we've been opening the shows hot recently. SmackDown typically nowadays is starting with the wrestling matches. Also, can I just say, Sami Zayn is wearing a Feeling Usi shirt. And so he should. Eric Douglas says, sorry I missed spoiler warning. No need to be sorry, mate. I mean, if you can catch it, catch it. If not, don't. You can always watch it back at some point. P.S. Liv and Tegan versus Shayna and Ronda. Who do you think wins tonight? Okay. So Shayna is a designated loser for the Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler team. That works perfectly for me. I don't want Shayna to lose, but I do find it more likely. That said, Ronda Rousey is hard to bet against, so it could be Ronda Rousey beating and forcing Liv Morgan to tap out, but I'm excited for a match of that caliber regardless. Eric says, no Damage Control tonight. The coach is streaming, although maybe it is pre-taped. She will not be streaming pre-taped. There's a possibility that she cut a promo or being involved in a vignette. After all, Bray Wyatt, as an example, has cut a lot of promos that haven't been used just yet, but will be used shortly. Brad says, what is the temperature there for you? It's 33 Fahrenheit in Wisconsin, so nice and cold. In the UK, it is -1 at the moment. If I just get an exact number for you. Now, this is Celsius, so we're at freezing point. That's where we are. Yep. We're at freezing point here in the UK, so great fun. Everyone having a great time. Freezing cold. Sounds about right. Wiggly says, yo, 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 yo. And yes, I have styled my hair slightly differently tonight. I call this the good old-fashioned Mr. McMahon. Essentially, I had a bath earlier. It was all slicked back, and then I just sort of pushed it over here, and this is what happened. I don't hate it, but it just sort of exposes the very egg shape of my head. Like, look at that. Not that. No, that. Look at the egg shape. It's pure egg. Just above Brad. Wow. Wisconsin be cold. We are opening with our Tag Team Championship match. I do believe had Drew McIntyre not been injured, we would still be seeing him in the match, but we are where we are. True, Wiggly, true, but I'm comparing myself. Hair-wise, it's accurate. Okay, Justin's asking if it snows because just outside Milwaukee it is. We've had rain here, but no snow yet. There's been a lot of snow warnings. Eric says, who do you see Ronda facing at the Rumble? I say Raquel. Raquel seems to be the obvious choice at this point. They are definitely building towards that. Though, of course, Liv Morgan is still in with an outside chance just by virtue of being Liv Morgan. I've just spotted that the referee is wearing an elbow brace. That's not normal. Wiggly is asking for my prediction for England versus France. France. 2-0, 3-0, 5-0. They'll batter us. They're France. We're not that good. Yeah, so it's only over the last few days, Wiggly, that I've been turning the heating on, but I have the feeling it's going to be staying on. Just staying on as long as possible. Simon says, hey Tom, got my brand new Liv t-shirt for SmackDown, and I own a lot of Liv merchandise just like I do Sasha. Fair enough, mate. I hope it turned up good, and I hope it's good quality. Also, welcome. Justin says, oh, yep, go there a ton. Bailey says, bringing in Tegan Nox puts her in a tier of WWE talent with no definable push. Emma, Mia Yim, Aaliyah and Lacey Evans. How would you see WWE positioning Tegan going forward? Tegan seems to be naturally paired up with Liv Morgan already, which I feel automatically guarantees positive booking. Because Liv Morgan is someone they want to keep in the public eye. They want to keep her being pushed. Anyone in a tag team with her will at least be a big deal. That said, it may be that they'll manage each other every now and then, and Tegan will play out quite similarly to her relationship with Shotzi. We'll see how it actually plays out. I'm excited to see how it goes. I don't think she's going to get much better than Emma, but I think she'll get a lot better than Lacey Evans. Also, if you remember, Aaliyah was a women's tag team champion, so while she is currently injured and is expected back shortly, I would be surprised if we can honestly say that she hasn't been pushed at least somewhat. Wiggly, there will not be a Kana in WWE. Hey Jaden, how you doing, mate? Eric Julius says, I know you don't care about the Cup this year, but what do you think about Brazil losing today? Because I didn't watch the match, I can't really tell you. I was surprised. I expected Brazil to go to the final this year against France. That's what I was personally expecting to be the final. So I'm surprised by it. That said, Neymar is not exactly known for getting on with people in tournaments, so I always remember the Brazil-Germany match, which no one was expecting, but also a lot of people were kind of expecting. Justin says Tegan pairing with Liv puts her in Dakota EO tier, which is a good tier to be, let's be fair. Simon says Liv, Tegan versus Ronda Shayna tonight. Do you see a clean finish or a DQ finish with possible interference? I very much see there's going to be a clean finish, because no one would interfere on behalf of the others involved. Unless maybe Bailey, but I don't see it. Ghost, welcome. Says WWE did announce on Twitter that Gable Steveson will be there tonight, so it's safe to assume he'll be a part of Kurt Angle's birthday celebration and perhaps start a storyline soon. Yes, it is. I do expect him to be involved in some capacity come WrestleMania. This is the ideal way to get him involved, by having him come in, speak to Kurt Angle, and then the Gable off begins. The Gable off which was this year's WrestleMania 9 months ago. 9 months. There are no rumours, Wiggly. No rumours about Asuka at all. There's fan speculation, but that's about it. Well, that'll be a rematch, Wiggly. Sean says, Ronda said on a stream she takes all the accountability for the DDT spot at Survivor Series. Said she and Shotzi worked on the match for 2 weeks. Their time got cut from their match. That she came back to help put over future stars like Liv, Shotzi, etc. I don't believe her on the last part. If she wants to help them, put them over, does she need the belt for it? Kind of yes. Given that you only right now have championship feuds in the women's division. So if she didn't have the belt, she wouldn't actually be having matches. That's kind of easily provable fact there. When you look at how many people are not actually getting attention because they're not competing for the championship. Meanwhile, the people she's feuding with have been, yes, Charlotte Flair, but also Liv, Shotzi, and now Raquel. She's worked with Raquel in matches already. Seems like she's actually doing exactly what she said she would. Wiggly, William Regal is returning at the beginning of next year. Eric says, I can see Raquel and Shotzi interfere to screw Shayna and Ronda. That would be a very heelish move. They don't want to do that, so I don't see that likely. Will says, hi Tom, not trying to blow your spot, but when you do your Sasha news or any other news, is it a thing that you just ask, or do they come to you? Bit of both. Depends on the news. Sometimes, for example, today's report is mostly because of the PW Insider report. Because of that going out there, I could reach out to people and say, hey, you didn't give me the full story, did you? And just get a bit more information that way. Other times, people will reach out to me and say, I don't know if you know this, but... Eric says, do you think Asuka is going to retire soon? No. Simon says, if the Women's Four Horsewomen Fatal 4-Way match possibly ever happens in the future, Tom, who would you book to win? So if it happens, possibly at any possible time, who would I book to win at any possible time if it ever happens? Well, that depends on the booking at the time, doesn't it? Wiggly says, how come Goldberg doesn't get a Signature Series belt? I don't really follow the belts as much as you do, Wiggly. Also, it's Goldberg. I couldn't care less. Also says, the Brothers of Destruction have one, as does Ultimate Warrior, both of which are awful. To be honest, pardon me, no respect for Kane anymore. Vince would still be a big fan of him. Triple H not so much, but Triple H is a Republican. I don't think that really gets mentioned enough. Politically, the WWE is a Republican company. It is a right-wing company. That's how it's always been. That's how it always will be. I still remember when AEW first launched and they got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to give them an endorsement from the Liberal side. Yeah, I don't think she'd be such a fan now. Wiggly, I can't stand pot noodle. It is congealed crap. I will just make some noodles, thank you. I make good stir fries. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? We are still in play for our tag team match. Typically, for SmackDown, we have a half-hour match to open the show. That's how Triple H has been booking it. I see no reason that would change. That means two commercials. Nice little trip there from, I'll say Jay? From Jay. Nice little trip on the rope to just slow himself up a little bit. It's quite nice. Sheamus is still very much building to the hot tag. It's a very good spot for someone like Butch and someone like Rich Holland to be in. I've mentioned it before. The fact that they were booked in War Games, they're dealing with people like Roman Reigns. They are really getting a strong push at the moment. Even though they're not winning many matches, being in these opening segments, being against the Usos, it gets you over just by extension. And it's a good spot for Pete Dunne, or Butch, whatever he may be. What confuses me is that he's not trying to get revenge on Solo Sikoa, because after all, Solo Sikoa attacked his tag team partner, or at least his former tag team partner, Matt Riddle. What a tag team that was. Upsets me that people forget sometimes. Hey Peter, how you doing, mate? Thank you very much for the side-by-side. That is the ideal way to watch one of these watch-alongs. Sheamus is in. I do like that the Bloodline have committed to red. They've just committed to the red. Jimmy and Jay have put it in their hair. All the t-shirts are red. Sammy's t-shirt is red. The only exception, of course, is Roman. But one day I looked forward to seeing Paul Heyman come down in a red velvet suit. Simon, I think Modric is okay. He's done very well at Real Madrid for many, many years. He's a good metronome. Not much else to really say. Sean says, I don't know about you, Tom, but I think Tony Khan is petty for putting a 1-year non-compete clause on a contract. I don't. He released William Regal from his contract way ahead of time. I don't see how that's being petty when someone has to go and you let them go. Eric says, I'd love to see Riddle win the Rumble, but I think it's highly unlikely. It is. There is no chance of Matt Riddle winning the Royal Rumble. I'd put the odds down there in the hundreds to 1 and so on. Butch and Sheamus have just delivered a beating that has got the crowd real hot. Sami Zayn is running out of the way. I don't doubt for a moment that he's going to be involved in the finish somehow. Wiggly, the favourite, is still Cody Rhodes. I put like I've put a short and a full YouTube video on the favourites for the Royal Rumble. I expect Cody will be the winner, yes. Sean, not the case. You can always win a Royal Rumble, and the stipulation has already been ignored because they've already been a match between the two of them since that stipulation was put in play. People forget things. Primarily the WWE. The WWE forget things. Sheamus has Jimmy Uso up on the second rope, going for a elevated white noise. Wiggly, I'm more of a dog person because you can take a dog for a walk and you don't have to necessarily spend as much time cleaning up it. Whereas I don't want a litter box in my house. Basically. Though what I will say is that while cats mostly do their own thing, historically every animal in the world loves me. And that is a thing. Which has really wound up certain members of my family who have got their own pets and have always spent time with their own pets, but their own pets like me more. Personally, I'm pretty happy with that. Eric says, how do you think we get to Sami versus Roman? I don't necessarily know that we do. While Sami and Roman are very much in each other's orbit, I would say the focus is still very much on Sami and Jey Uso. Sami and KO versus Jimmy and Jey seems to make a lot more sense at this point in time. That said, I'd be very happy if we got that. I just don't see it. Kieran is laying into cats, which is not unfair. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up. We have 7 likes and 12 viewers. So as long as we get a few more in there, you'll see the viewership number climb pretty drastically. Always a good thing. Eric, I appreciate the concern, but I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'm not going to go too deep into that. I gave some detail at the time. And we're all okay, and I'll just leave it at that. Appreciate you checking in, but I'm just going to leave that one. What the hell, Wiggly? What the hell? For a while I had an aviary at the bottom of my garden. That was an experience. I do like that seems to be like a massive tangent, but Wiggly, you're on one today. How you doing, mate? Bringing in some strange topics. Appreciate your understanding there, Eric. Dominic says, hi Tom, like watching you on SmackDown on Friday night. Sorry for the same question. Is Roman fighting Sheamus at the Royal Rumble? Thank you. Everything is on the table. No, I suspect Roman will be fighting Sheamus on a SmackDown between now and the Royal Rumble, but it does look like it'll be Kevin Owens versus Roman at the Rumble itself. No worries, Peter. If you're a regular here, I'll always follow you back on Twitter, or at least I try to. You'd have to do something pretty extreme for me not to follow you on the old Twitter, or in future days, because I'm going on Twitter a lot less, or I may have just not noticed. That's a genuine possibility nowadays. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter because, you know, Twitter. It's a plethora of its own problems, let's be fair, but it is what it is. Thank you for the extra likes, guys. We are just 2 subscribers away from 1,870 as well. We're not going to make the 2,000 this year. I would need to make another 130 within the next 21 days. Seems unlikely, that's more than 10 a day. But I'm still very happy with the numbers that we've received, considering that my plan for this year was to reach 1,500. I am more than 350 above what my actual target was. I'm pretty happy with that. Wiggly says, is there anyone in AEW Triple H would want apart from Hikaru Shida? Yeah, John Moxley, Samoa Joe, Cesaro, MJF. There's a lot that Triple H would want in AEW. Keith Lee, Andrade, Miro, Swerve, Aleister Black, Ember Moon, Ruby Soho, Kinda Page, Jade Cargill, at times Tony Khan himself. So, like most of them, the big names, Triple H would be happy to work with again. Moon, Sulphur and Butch taking the Usos down. Lands on Sheamus, but Sheamus seems to be okay. Ghost says WWE tweeted that Riddler is expected to be out for 6 weeks, which would put his return on either Friday, January 20th or Monday, January 23rd, also known as Raw is Triple X. There's also the possibility they'll save him for the Rumble, but we'll see how that plays out. No Wiggly, no interest to my knowledge in Hikaru Shida. You very much make up your own stories here. Dominic, I'm not aware of any new contract for Goldberg. To my knowledge, Triple H is simply not that interested. As I say, that's not what I'm aware of, but things happen which I'm not aware of at times. Brad says, how many subscribers do you need to do this full time? See, okay. That's not the metric that I'm personally going to be using. Because here's the thing. Once you reach 1,000 subscribers, the actual subscriber count doesn't really matter that much. Subscribers are good, but 40% of my viewership doesn't subscribe, but they're still regular. So that's okay. We still had 6,000 viewers in the Survivor Series watch party. I can't imagine how many we're going to have for the Royal Rumble, considering last year we peaked at 16 viewers total. So I'd imagine that's going to work out pretty well. But when it comes to full time, I can give estimations based on how much I'm roughly making right now. But you have to be aware that obviously has a lot to do with how many donations I get, channel memberships, channel gift memberships, Twitch subscriptions. There's a lot at play. So it's difficult to say exactly. I personally believe that I'll be able to go full-time around the point of 10,000 subscribers based on what I'm making now compared to what I would make then. But that is still a way away. Let's not kid ourselves. Okay, a razor's edge into a neck breakout. It wasn't perfect. The catch wasn't perfect, and I think they needed a bit more height. So not executed brilliantly, but at least didn't seem to do any damage. Wiggly says, what's happening with Edge? He's waiting for his contract to tick over to in the new year, so he has more dates that he can work. Aaliyah is still injured and is not featured just yet, but she will likely feature soon. Sean says, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, Adam Cole, Keith Lee are some names Triple H would love to have back in WWE. Absolutely true, but they are far from the only ones. I mentioned Moxley, and I stand by that. He's most upset that Adam Cole got away, but then you've got Bryan Danielson. In many ways, I even think he'd like to bring CM Punk back, but mostly to, if you'll forgive the pun, punk him. Sami Zayn is in the ring. Rich Holland is working to keep that man out, but Solo Sikoa would still be in play as well. The distraction may prove impactful. The knee is really working to pop that crowd, but I do say, if you've got someone in that position, bro kick them. No, he did not go for the bro kick. Rich Holland is now picking a fight with Solo Sikoa. You won't win that fight, Rich. He doesn't win that fight. He doesn't win that fight. Jermaine says, hi Tom, thanks for spoiler warning early today. Very informative as always. Thank you, Jermaine. I appreciate that. I always appreciate when people check out the videos, and I'm glad to see so many people who are there regularly as well. It's the whole point of spoiler warning is to make sure that you guys are happy with what I'm creating. And if you're happy with that, then I'm thrilled with what we're doing. Sean says, would Triple H have interest in Anna Jay or Britt Baker? Maybe. I find it more likely he's interested in Britt Baker than Anna Jay, though. Bailey says, is Sheamus the most underrated talent in the WWE? If not, he's in the top 3. I think, for the last year or so, that is no longer the case. However, historically, I would argue that point. I do like that Sheamus was trying to get in the ring, but it was Sammy who held his ankle. The Bloodline right now are unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. Ghost says SmackDown is not a part in the top 30 trending topics on Twitter in America at the moment. Interesting, unusual. Also, will not report when the Fire Ronda Rousey trends, but I'll check back in around the halfway point. Fair enough, Ghost, fair enough. Always appreciate those. You can always track if people are interested in the show or not, wherever it's trending on Twitter or not. Dominic says, do you have a merchandise line? Not at this point in time. We're working on it. Sai has pitched some designs and some options. I'm going to be putting something together. And then it'll be up to you guys from there, whether or not you're interested in what we're making. Oh, hello. Kurt Angle and Gable Steveson backstage hugging Braun Strowman. Okay, I very much get the feeling Angle is here to endorse Gable Steveson. Braun was clearly reading from a script there, because that is not his usual conversation topic. But he made it feel pretty natural, to be fair. I still remember the moment when Stone Cold Steve Austin said to Arnold Schwarzenegger, "Good luck against Satan. You kick his ass." That was a strange moment. Oh, LA Knight. I did not recognise LA Knight's music. Logically, I'd imagine he's here to talk up to Bray. Bray will answer. Oh, appreciate that, Simon. Always appreciate you spreading the word. Sean says Athena's another name Triple H will be interested in. I called her Ember Moon, but yes, Athena is always the word she's actually going by at the moment. Brad says spoiler warning is always informative. I try my best, Brad. I try my best. Hector says, I hope the eventual Sammy Bloodline breakup is on the level of Festival of Friendship. Me too. Me too. But to do that, there has to be so many perfect moments for it to happen that you stop thinking it's going to. The second you start to doubt it's going to happen, that's when it happens. Jermaine says, when Charlotte comes back and enters the Rumble, then after stays on Raw. Now you have Becky, Charlotte and Bayley on the same brand. Plus what happens to Bayley after the Royal Rumble? Good question. It really does depend if she's a champion going into it or not. Ghost says Kurt looks great. And if milk is a part of his skincare routine because he is glowing. He has been looking after himself since his retirement. The thing that's of the most interest to me is that when he was the general manager of Raw, he never quite mastered the phrase WWE. He typically would add another W in there, WWE. He got a bit confused at times. I'm interested to see if he's kicked that habit. Would be nice, certainly. We did have our first match go the full half hour. LA Knight and Bray Wyatt will be our next storyline that we're covering. Braun Strowman historically has been the draw segment. He has appeared backstage, but I'm not aware of him having a match booked at the moment, unless the plan is for another stare down with Gunter. The Intercontinental Championship contract signing could be our draw segment. The women's tag match could certainly be our draw segment. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Bray Wyatt could be our draw segment, despite the fact that LA Knight's walking down to the ring right now. You never can tell. You really can't. Ooh, someone going by the name Man asked me, do you think Karrion Kross will ever beat Roman Reigns because he's a Triple H guy? Ever is a very long time. And this is a difficulty we sometimes have with this. Everything is on the table. Forever is a very long time. In 10 years, Karrion Kross probably will beat Roman Reigns at some point over that course. Or he may go to AEW. Or he may go back to Impact. Or go to New Japan. Forever is a very long time. And a lot of things can change in that time. So I'm going to go ahead and not touch that one man. But you enjoy your extremely masculine name. Simon says, your prediction for Y2J versus Cesaro for the Ring of Honor World title match tomorrow night. I think Jericho retains and continues to work with other people who've competed in Ring of Honor. Sean says, what will be the main event? We have just discussed that. Well, actually, no, we discussed the draw segment, but ultimately the same things that could be the draw segment could well be the main event. I definitely think there's a possibility that it'll be the Intercontinental Championship, but I find it more likely it's going to be the women's tag match. Hard to tell. No Wiggly, though. You do have a PhD, so you can respect yourself for that. Bailey says, there was a time when SmackDown was the A show and delivered every week. That feels so long ago now compared to Raw. Raw has been the better show since the most recent draft. Though I do think we've seen some good SmackDowns recently. I'm not unhappy with what we're getting at the moment in our ear holes, as it were. We always seem to start with a very good match, and the storylines are good. LA Knight and Bray Wyatt is interesting. The return of Tegan Knox was at least interesting. Karrion Kross Madcap Moss not so much, but Karrion Kross has now set his eyes on Rey Mysterio, which is interesting. Hector says, I know you don't watch the World Cup, Tom, but if you get a chance to watch some highlights, check out Messi just showing why he's arguably the best player ever. Okay. I'll admit I've seen a lot of Messi compilation videos recently. The WWE are confirming the Variety report that John Cena will be returning for the final SmackDown of 2022. The main reason they're doing this, by the way, is because they genuinely think that no one's going to tune in. December 30th, Tampa, Florida, which is where most of the wrestlers actually live. So, honestly, they're doing them a favour. Peter says, what's your favourite Xmas tune? Not many people say this, but Stop the Cavalry is my personal favourite Christmas song. That one. Man says, do you think Sasha's going to AEW to face Jade Cargill or go to New Japan? I think she'll appear in New Japan. I think she's going to WWE, personally. More on that on my earlier spoiler warning show. Kieran says, Messi was once again brilliant today, played the full 90, full 30 of extra time, then scored a pen in the penalties while Ronaldo starts on the bench. Yeah, Ronaldo's not a game changer anymore. Simon is excited for FTR versus the Briscoe dog collar match. Interesting, Peter. LA Knight is toying with the audience, but he's calling out Bray Wyatt. This is a bold choice. You've not struck fear in Bray Wyatt. Sean says, what do you think John Cena will do on the final SmackDown of 2022? Announce himself for the Rumble? I think that's a possibility. From what I can tell, he's here for a short-term run. At most, he's going to be here for a month. Personally, I'd like to see John Cena challenge Gunther. I think that would be a great match. I wouldn't hate him against LA Knight, but we'll see how it plays out. Certainly there is speculation about Cena going all the way to Mania. We can't exactly argue that one. Brad Becker says, do you think that Raw and SmackDown TV deals will have their remain same channel? Brad, do you mean remain on the same channels? Because, yeah, the contracts will be renewed. Man says, who you got? Karrion Kross or Rey in the feud? Karrion Kross. They're working on rebuilding him right now. They are working on rebuilding him after the damage done to him by by Drew McIntyre. Go says, if birthday celebration becomes a thing in December, just saying that Trish Stratus, RVD and Stone Cold's birthdays are all coming up on the 18th. I know it's not happening, but it'd be pretty fun to see any of them. Fair. Very fair. Kieran says, isn't this year the first year Cena hasn't had a match? Well, if he doesn't have a match on the last SmackDown of the year, it would be. Give it time, though. We'll see how that plays out. LA Knight is presenting his evidence of attack by Bray Wyatt. Bray has not responded thus far. I do like that he's pointing out all the masks and all the things that usually the sleuths here are working out as we go through the show. What I do like is Bray Wyatt's masterful control of TV screens. Uncle Howdy has interrupted. Man says, why did Kross lose to Drew at Crown Jewel? Because they wanted to keep Drew McIntyre looking strong, heading into a WrestleMania match, likely against Gunther. Kieran says, I imagine they give him a real quick match just so that doesn't happen. Much like The Rock at WrestleMania against Eric Rowan a few years ago. Uncle Howdy, clearly looking to make Bray suffer. I don't believe he's talking to LA Knight there. LA Knight still in the ring. I'd imagine we change the camera angle and just ignore him from here. Jermaine says, I get what you're saying, Tom, because Bayley could be the champion and Becky could go up against Bayley for the title, and Charlotte versus Bianca could be a non-title match at WrestleMania. Yes, it could. Also, Bianca could retain, Charlotte could win the Royal Rumble, challenge Bianca that way, And then Becky versus Bayley becomes a non-title match at Mania. LA Knight is going looking for Bray Wyatt. Bold choice. Bold choice. Not something I'd do personally. All a bit silly. Michael Cole is plugging NXT Vengeance Day. As I did mention when Triple H first took over, we'd see a lot more connections between NXT and the main roster, and we've seen plenty of that since. Man says Alexa should beat Bianca. She needs it. She will not be doing so. Hey BM, how you doing, mate? Kieran says giving Charlotte another Rumble win would definitely get her booed. She already gets booed. What have they got to lose? Legado del Fantasma are being interviewed backstage. And it sounds like someone's just been attacked in the parking lot. Shotzi? Shotzi attacked by Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan. No, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, not Liv Morgan. I am enjoying the general, like, schoolyard bully energy of Rousey and Baszler. They're just taking everybody out. Wiggly wishes Xia Li got a push. I mean, I kind of get it. Doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. Hector says, I don't think LA Knight has ever seen a horror movie. He knows he's supposed to be scared, he's just not going to do it. Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox have interrupted the promo. They are basically putting over their opponents here. This feels like it would be a pay-per-view match if they had a pay-per-view. Nice bit of chemistry between Tegan and Liv there. Ronda Rousey's actually getting some good lines in recently. Just like, they don't understand metaphors. Let's just go. I like that. That's good stuff. Legado are on their way down to the ring. Ghost says the report on John Cena did state that more appearances are scheduled to be announced soon. Keep in mind that the worst New Year ever could happen as a certain man named Hulk Hogan lives in Tampa. Ghost, don't even say that. Let's not even mention that into the world, because one day we spoke about Shane McMahon and it actually happened. So let's just not want that. I'm confident John Cena, as I say, will have a limited run. It won't be a one-off appearance, but he won't be there for long. Between now and WrestleMania, I could see happening and then vanishing again, but it's going to work out similarly to John Cena's work against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. It'll feel big, but it'll be brief. BM says, what's with Shayna's makeup? She has it how she wants it. I'm not really fussed. Man says, Cross and Scarlett versus Bray and Alexa at Mania. They should do this year. They will not be doing so. That would basically just continue the burial of Karrion Kross. Also, Alexa wants to team back up with Bray. Triple H doesn't really want it. Doesn't really want it. BM, relax, mate. Relax. I don't like him either. But we can still be annoyed at him vocally. That's okay. That's okay. We are a third of the way through SmackDown. If you are currently watching, as 19 of you are, please remember to hit the thumbs up button. We have 12 likes and 19 viewers. We are also looking for just two new subscribers. That would take us up to 1,870. 2 more makes all the difference. Brad says, please no, Hogan. He's been a heel since Royal Rumble 1992. And Kieran says, BM must not be a real American. Brutality. Right there, Kieran. Right there. To be fair, I think you can ask serious questions about whether Hulk Hogan is a real American, given that he clearly doesn't support the land of the free. He only supports the land of free himself. Yes, Simon, William Regal is not expected to be on TV at all next year. He's okay with it. He doesn't want to. Man says, how would you book Cross and Scarlett? Similarly to how they're being booked now, building them up against some legends, some lower down the card people, similar to how Gunter is. What I would be doing is literally building Gunter and building Karrion Kross in the same way, building them up slowly through the roster, basically having 2 3-week feuds of everyone. They come out, they make their challenge. The next week, the person confirms the challenge. The week after, they beat the person, and then they move on. Just that. Just a lot of that. Until eventually we get to a point where they are in a ring together and people think, oh. I'd take that. BM says another streamer did a wrestling gaming stream of Gobbledygooker beating up Hogan, and so they should. I like that. I very much like the fact that you're the one who's saying, can we not mention Hogan? And now you're talking about Hogan. Ghost says, I really don't want it to happen, but as I said, anything, and I mean anything, is on the table. I never expected that to get over. Like, I know I have sort of developed catchphrases, Bad Vince. Like, Bad Vince was a big one for a while. But I never expected showing him the way and everything is on the table to be the thing. To the point where people have asked me for an everything is on the table t-shirt. Like, did not expect that one. Did not expect. I also don't know how to make the hand signal. Maybe just a table made of hands. Maybe just say you're on the table. I don't know. Madman says, when is 2K23 coming out? Next year. Eric says, Tom, when do you think we'll get Zelina's TV debut? Since we already saw her in-ring return on Dark Match. As soon as I have an opponent for her. She's an in-ring wrestler. She's an in-ring competitor. They're just not using her as such at the moment because BFAB isn't considered ready to step in the ring with her. Like, I'm sure the day will come. We're just waiting for it to happen. Jermaine says, to be fair, Drew McIntyre never pinned Karrion Kross in a match. Just climbed over a cage and won a cage match, so it should be a little bit more easy to rebuild Kross to make him a beast again. You say that. I don't see it. I think, unfortunately, a lot of damage has been done. It's going to take him a while. We'll see how it plays out, though. Not the first Asuka you've met, Wiggly. Interestingly. Simon says, Tom, were you a fan of DDP back in the day in WCW? I didn't watch much WCW. I caught up with it later, but DDP was not really a big player for me in that. Ooh. We are talking the return of Roman Reigns will actually be next week. Okay. I suspect maybe those reports from Dave Meltzer has convinced the WWE to change tact slightly and bring Roman back ahead of time. Good call there, Justin. A table emote. Now, I make the emotes personally. I haven't asked Sai to make one before. Might be something I have to consider because he's very good at what he does. So a table emote is a good shout. No, man, I don't think anyone is going to AEW because they were hanging out with Jade Cargill. You've asked about Sasha, you've asked about Naomi. I'm getting the feeling you're a Jade Cargill fan, and I don't blame you. She's very good. Hector says, I know this may be a crazy thought, but I wouldn't be totally surprised if they gave Karrion the Money in the Bank. Would go a long way to continuing to rebuild him. I see him as more of a threat than Theory was. That certainly would be a massive threat to the overall division. I'd be behind that. That's a good shout. The Viking Raiders and Valhalla, the Impaler, are on their way down to the ring. This is, of course, is a new and improved, new vicious Viking Raiders. Sarah Logan so far has, in her time back in the WWE, thrown 2 punches. Yep, that's it. Which is confusing. I immediately feel like this is going to be a squash. And just a squash that doesn't even stand out. We're kind of getting too used to this. We haven't seen much of Hit Row since. I'd like it if they came in and got involved in the attack here, but I don't see it. Kieran says, whoever is the next Money in the Bank needs to win it. It's been so long for the men's Money in the Bank. There's a few contenders that I'd potentially give it to Sheamus again. BM, clearly you didn't get the reference I was making there. I used to work at the Blackpool Pleasure Beach, by the by. Many moons ago. 15 years ago. Michael Cole commenting on Zelina Vega's outfit. Maybe don't do that. Maybe just don't do that. Maybe that's a bad shout. I know, Kieran. I know what you mean. Don't worry. Alid says hello. Hello, Alid. Simon is asking my opinion on Riddle and Shotzi winning the briefcases. I would not have Riddle or Shotzi win them because I just don't feel... I don't feel they have much of a chance of actually picking up a win. I've mentioned before who I would have win them. I would have Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest picking up the win, picking up the briefcase, and stalking the champions for the rest of the year. I do think Damian Priest makes a lot of sense in that role, and Rhea Ripley's Rhea Ripley. Imagine you're, for example, Bianca Belair, and everywhere you turn, there's Rhea. There's Rhea. That makes a lot of sense to me. Ugh. Sean says, since Cody was supposed to win Money in the Bank this year, could they give it to him next year? Yep. Absolutely they could. That would make a lot of sense for me as well. I don't know, BM. I haven't worked there for 15 years. When I said I worked there 15 years ago, I don't mean I work there now. I couldn't tell you whether the Pleasure Beach is open or closed. It could have been knocked down for all I know. I don't pay much attention to it. Here come Hit Row, who, as I mentioned, we haven't seen for about a month. At the moment, it's just B-Fab, so I'd imagine they're coming through the crowd. B-Fab is just there for the distraction, seemingly. The fact that the lights are down at the moment on the crowd, quite telling. This could also, of course, be our... Nope, there they are in the crowd, ready to attack both Legado and the Viking Raiders with chairs. So, Top Dollar couldn't master carrying a chair into the ring, bless him. I do feel like this is mostly in build to the Royal Rumble. We've already started to show like faction-based carnage. I'll take it. I'm happy with it. Valhalla on the attack. B-Fab there to stop it. BM is asking, do you like spicy food? Yes. My first serious partner was Mexican, and since then I've been obsessed with fajitas and the like. Enchiladas, burritos, even just a nice bit of sauce. Nice bit of hot sauce. Eric says, what if you have a main roster debut Bron Breakker taking the case? That would be cool, and I think it'd be a good shout. Man said, who should be Karrion Kross's opponent at WrestleMania 39? I don't think Karrion Kross is going to be on the card for WrestleMania 39 unless the Money in the Bank briefcase match is taking place, in which case I'd put him on that. Brad says, thoughts on a tag team Money in the Bank? Why? Doesn't make much sense for me. It'll just be absolute carnage. Aled says, there were rumours on Twitter that Roman was going to hand the Usos new tag titles. Are those rumours true or what? Well, I'd imagine you'll find out in the next few weeks. I don't personally see it, because you do have Raw and SmackDown as separate. You do have a lot of tag teams, and a lot more tag teams than you used to. I'd separate those championships pretty quickly. Simon says, any ideas on plans for Seth's Mania 39 opponent? Will Ospreay? Just throwing names out. Kieran says, four-way ladder match for the table titles. Simon, did you not know? Yeah. Becky Lynch's fandom is called the Deadlies. Hector says, could we see a 9-man tag if we see Legado versus Hit Row versus Viking Raiders? We could, though when you say 9-man, do you mean 9-person? The lights have gone out on LA Knight. And there is Bray in his Uncle Howdy mask. It's like the cameraman doesn't realise they're actually in the room as well. I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows recently. And I really like how every now and then they'll just reference the cameraman by leaving them in a very dangerous situation. And everyone just turns around to look at the cameraman. They're like, We have a Raw commercial. Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins. Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. Automatically makes Raw a pretty big deal for this one, even if it is 2 number 1 contendership matches. We're almost halfway through SmackDown. I've got to say, it's kind of flown. I'm quite enjoying it. So far on the stream as well, I've had 236 views. Pretty good number. We have 22 viewers and 12 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Still to come, we have our Intercontinental Championship contract signing. And we have the tag team match between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox. Those are the big segments, but we also have Kurt Angle and Gable Steveson walking around backstage. I'd imagine there's going to be a Gable off and something involving Braun Strowman in our draw segment. Logically then, I'd put the women's tag match as the main event, personally. Just makes sense to me. What can I say? I'm only human. Sean says Seth defeats Lashley. Not sure. I think we've seen quite a bit of Seth versus Theory recently, but not so much of Lashley versus Theory. So I'd go the other direction. Eric, do you mean Omega or do you mean Okada? Because both of those are quite similar to what you've put. Jermaine says, great way to build the tag team division up. Now we need to split those tag titles off the Usos to really let this tag team division on Raw and SmackDown flourish. BM is asking my favourite Bond actor. I think Roger Moore was my personal favourite. Though I did actually quite like George Lazenby. I liked that film. Sean says Kurt's celebration could be the main event. It could be, depending on who's going to do what. Someone's going to attack Gable Steveson, and if it's Chad Gable, I don't see that being main event worthy. I really don't. I'd rather see Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan and Shayna Baszler and Tegan Nox be in a main event there. I think that's a big help. That really helps show that Tegan Nox is going to be a big deal, that they're not forgetting about Liv Morgan, which is a genuine concern of a lot of fans, I feel, that Liv Morgan is going to be forgotten about. It means we won't get that if that's the main event. Gotcha, Eric. Gotcha. We are heading back in to our next segment. We'll find out what's happened with LA Knight and Bray Wyatt. We haven't actually seen Bray Wyatt so far. All we've seen is a face. Well, a mask, I should say. Kieran said, James Bonds are some of my favourite movies. Going to get a mini cinema room set up. I'm going to do a James Bond marathon. Fair enough. You go nuts. Kurt Angle and Gable Steveson. I keep saying Gabe. Gable Steveson are backstage with Madcap Moss, Emma, and the rarely seen Shinsuke Nakamura. And with Kurt Angle turning up for his birthday, naturally you have to show Jason Jordan, giving him a card that says number 1 dad. That's sweet. Like, I know it was a hated storyline, but that was sweet. It looks like this will be our main event. Our draw segment will be the contract signing between Ricochet and Gunter. Logically then, based on what's happened recently in draw segments, Ricochet is going to get beat down by all 3 members of Imperium and rescued by Braun Strowman. Traffic says, good evening, Tom and chat. Did I miss anything good yet? The opening match was pretty good. Sheamus and Butch versus the Usos. LA Knight has called out Bray Wyatt. That's been fairly interesting. We have seen a continuation of whatever's going on with the new and vicious version of the Viking Raiders, with Legado and Hit Row both getting involved now. So I think it's been a fairly eventful SmackDown. We're going to get a recap of the World Cup on Fox final from last week, which was a hell of a match. Definitely took the event another level higher. John says, Jason Jordan. Was Jason Jordan never cleared? He was not cleared, no. Hector says, I don't know if he called the NXT Deadline conference call, but HBK was asked about Sean Waltman and said if he wanted to wrestle, he'd be a huge help to the young talent, and if he can still go, I'm here for it. We'll see what happens there. He may be a help to the talent in terms of training and coaching. I would not be putting him in a wrestling ring with them, personally. I believe they've just shown Ricochet's parents with their little Ricochet signs. What I expected and did not receive was a whole lot of people on Twitter claiming that Legado had been buried. That didn't happen. Did not happen. Was very pleasantly surprised by that. Kieran says he could teach the heels on how to get true heel heat. A lot of people don't seem to believe that X-Pac could get true heel heat. They believe that he could only get X-Pac heat, which is true heel heat. So, depends on that one. All three members of Imperium on their way down. The music starts off so well and then just falls apart. I love the accent that the ring announcer puts on for Imperium. She didn't say Ludwig Kaiser, she said Ludwig Kaiser. Giovanni Vinci. Ricochet does not want Ludwig walking into that ring with Gunter. I do like that Marcel Bartel was engaging directly with Ricochet there, whereas Vinci was looking through the crowd. Ludwig Kaiser was very much paying attention. The match will take place next week. We've spoken for a while about what Triple H's plans are for the Raws and SmackDowns between now and the Royal Rumble. This is very much part of that plan. Adam Pearce is in the ring. They've just announced that SmackDown is trending #1 in the United States. Ghost, is that one true? Stuart says she put some proper effort into Imperium's intro. Yes, she does. Simon, I think it's very possible that Cora Jade does get called up next year. Next year's a long time. Other years are also a big long time. Everything is on the table. The New Day. Tell you what I didn't expect. I didn't expect the New Day to interfere. Kofi lost pretty clean last week. Kofi and Xavier on the way down. This does suggest we're about to have a 6-man tag match. Go says, to me there seems to be usage of the feud between the Hardys, Edge and Christian and the Dudleys as a guiding light of sorts for this feud. Hear me out. Hit Row represents the Hardys, the charismatic underdogs. Legado represents E&C, the crafty heels. And Viking Raiders represent the Dudleys, the undeniable threat. I like where you're coming from there, Ghost. I like how you've laid that out, and I completely agree with it. John says, Denise Salcedo is going to be on the pre-show panel for NXT Deadline. If you're a fan of hers, she's been on my YouTube channel as well. Check it out. Bailey says the last true heel heat was Elias and the Seattle audience on Raw. Disagree. You know who Charlotte Flair is. You know who Charlotte Flair is. Do you remember, Do you remember the heat she got for her whole feud with Becky? Like, she got it. She got it. Seems like the New Day is backing Ricochet up. Hell of an endorsement to have. And a perfect opportunity to push NXT Deadline further as well. Jermaine says, I don't think Liv Morgan will be a forgotten person, but I do have the feeling that this is being built up to eventually Sasha and Naomi versus Ronda and Shayna, which I can see happening at WrestleMania. You and me both, mate. You and me both. Justin says, do you still believe Alexa isn't with Bray? Yes, I still believe Alexa isn't with Bray. BM says, Tom predicts some Hall of Fame inductees for next year. The New Day just called out Adam Pearce for trying to stop them from booking their own match. Fair shout. Hall of Fame inductees, I'm not sure. I'm going to give it time, but my number one prediction when it comes to that at the moment is China. Jermaine says, I love it. New Day paying tribute to the Power Rangers. The original Green Ranger that passed away was a green and white Ranger. He was indeed. Man says, what should Alexa do next? I'm not sure. Personally, I'd like to see her deal with her feud with Nikki Cross first, but we'll see how that goes. Gunter literally does not care about the what chant. You're not going to put him off. Like, you're not going to put him off. It's not possible. This man is unbreakable. Ghost says this is in fact true. SmackDown is now trending number 1 on Twitter in the US. Took a little while, but they got there, didn't they? Sean says Charlotte and the reports that people walked out during her segment of Alexa. Notice how I quoted reports. Yeah, nobody saw that happen. Apparently it did, but nobody saw it happen. There's a reason Alexa Bliss doesn't like talking to journalists. Like any of them. Hector says the New Day is everywhere these days. NXT and now here on SmackDown. The more New Day, the better. Imperium can't perform is not a good chant. It's not going to work. Bailey says Gunter does not break kayfabe. He does not. He's the MJF of the WWE. We finally got a good promo from Ricochet. It's been a long time. Oh. Nearly took Ricochet down with that table. Nearly just whacked him in the face. I like that Kofi Kingston just moved the trophy. He just moved the trophy. And here we are, 6-man. And we're off. The faces stand tall in the ring to end the segment as we go into commercial break. Gunter has been the proper workhorse of... Hello. Oh, we're doing some diving. Oh, we're all doing some diving. Lovely. Okay. Did Ricochet just roll over everyone? I feel like he just rolled past everyone. Sean says, would Alexa talk to you, Tom, if you interviewed her? Yeah. If she was there for an interview, she'd be interviewed, but... There was a point at the beginning of the pandemic, the very first show of the pandemic, where they were shown not wrestling during a commercial break. And it was shared by Sean Rossap of Fightful. Alexa did not like that. She made that clear. The reports that people left during the Charlotte and Alexa segment from Dave Meltzer, she didn't like that. She pays attention. Yeah, I'm not aware of her having any issue with me. Not impossible that she ties me with the same brush, and I wouldn't really blame her for it. Simon says, do you see Liv and Tegan winning the Women's Tag Team Title Championships from Damage Control, Tom? I do not. I do not. BM's predictions for the Hall of Fame are Batista, Mickey James, William Regal, Adam Bomb, the Nasty Boys, Cyndi Lauper, and or Sid, or Lex Luger. Madman says, carrying Cross and Ray backstage tonight on SmackDown. Yeah, they've got to continue their feud as well. Brad says, I hate the what chants. So disrespectful. I agree. It's just the way that the crowd likes to say, ha, you're not American. Like, Gunter knows how to speak. You're not gonna stop that. I like the teamwork there between Xavier Woods and Ricochet. Just a bit of tag team work there. Didn't expect it to be so smooth for him. But yeah, here we are. Man says, do you think CM Punk is coming back to the WWE? No. Justin says, Alexa turns heel during the build to the Rumble versus Belair. I mean, maybe. But then what would she do at the Rumble? She has to reinforce it somehow. Kieran says, I watched Young Rock the other day, and Becky is brilliant as Cyndi Lauper. The clips I've seen certainly agree with you on that one. Justin Check says, my dream Hall of Fame, first under Triple H, Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. China, Sid Vicious, APA, The Rock headlines. The Rock is not officially retired as of yet. He will not be headlining a Hall of Fame class. They are making a point that they want impending retirees at this point, which is why it was considered somewhat disrespectful when they reached out to Chris Jericho. Ghost says, Jason Jordan making a birthday card for Kurt Angle with number one dad and macaroni on it is perfection. WWE just posted a picture of it on Twitter. Little things like that are what Triple H specialises in. Little tiny moments that have that element of continuity, that have that element of intrigue, that they're a little throwback to things that maybe you really didn't like, but now you kind of do. Like, you miss those days of, oh, I really didn't like that storyline. It's also nice to see Jason Jordan. He's, of course, been the guy putting together Ronda Rousey's matches, so he's actually getting a lot of love backstage at the moment. But bits like that will certainly help. And hey, Brian Kendrick's in play now, which upset a lot of people. I was watching a Smosh video earlier where they're advertising 2K16. And they were taking wrestling classes from Brian Kendrick and Joey Ryan. And you have them on where you think, how the mighty. Hector says, I wonder if we will get a Jason Jordan Chad Gable interaction tonight as well. That would be cool. That's a good show. I'd be interested in that. BM Edge was put in when he was retired. Like, he was medically retired with no chance of coming back. So, different situation. Justin Stevens says, will Cena wrestle at Mania? I've heard multiple different people say multiple different things. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people have assumed that it's going to be John Cena versus Austin Theory just because that makes sense. That's not enough reason for me. Not enough reason. Peter wants King Kong Bundy in. BM wants Floyd Mayweather, Tyson Fury, Dennis Rodman. You got to pick one, mate. You got to pick one. Kieran says, I've never liked Joey Ryan. Nor I, to be honest. Early on in my career, I reached out to him to try and get... because I was hosting a giveaway. And I wanted to know if he was able to put anything on offer for us. We got, for example, a PW Torch membership for free and so on. And, you know, we were trying to put together a nice little package of stuff to give away. Didn't quite work out that way because nobody responded. Kind of frustrating. Yeah, just being completely ignored. Not the biggest fan of it. Maybe I need Twitter Blue. Maybe that'll solve the problem. Hector says, I want... Oh, sorry, I've already read that one. Sean says, I saw Jason Jordan and Chad Gable live when they were at American Alpha. Back in the day. Back in the day. Good days, to be fair. I was disappointed that American Alpha didn't get better reactions on the main roster. They were great wrestlers, but the problem is they were just great wrestlers. They needed a few more strings to their bow, and they didn't have it. You know? They just kind of didn't have it. Disappointing, especially when they lost the championships to the Wyatt family and were swept under the carpet and sort of forgotten about from there. Chad Gable has had about 15 different tag partners since. Shelton Benjamin, Dolph Ziggler for a while. Just keeps going. We have more push for NXT's pay-per-view. I get the feeling they're really trying to make sure you watch. Like, they are really trying to make sure. Bron Breakker versus Apollo Crews. I just don't feel that there's any actual threat to Bron Breakker here. Also, the fact that we've only just had the New Day step up to Pretty Deadly tells me that they're booking this quite late in the day. Very surprised they didn't have a tag team of their own that they could push towards those championships. Justin Stevens believes that Cena will come back to announce that he's in the Royal Rumble. We are more than halfway through SmackDown. We are currently in the midst of a 6-man tag match. And can I just say, we're having a lot of tag team matches recently. On this show, for example, we opened with Sheamus and Butch versus the Usos. We've had the Viking Raiders versus Legado del Fantasma. We now have Imperium versus The New Day and Ricochet. Still to come, we have Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Oh, nice move. Versus Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox. It looks like we're not going to have any singles matches tonight. With the roster the size that they are, it kind of only makes sense. Kieran says, I'm only watching the NXT pay-per-view for the New Day match. Well, maybe, Kieran. Maybe you'll watch it for that match, but something else will convince you to stick around. Maybe, just maybe. Jermaine says, if you can do this match at WrestleMania and have this be Gunter's opponent between John Cena, Drew McIntyre or Sheamus, which one will you pick for Gunter to defend the IC title up against? So here's what I'd do. I would do against John Cena on December 30th. I would do against Sheamus at the Royal Rumble. And I would do against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. And I'd have him win every one. Every one. Traffic says both WWE and AEW make it hard to care about NXT and Rampage. I mean, the people who watch NXT religiously, and there are quite a lot of them, Ed, for example, regular here, one of the OGs, as it were, and a mod, seems to have no problem watching NXT, seems to think it's an absolutely great show, so not sure I entirely agree there. Brad Becker says Triple H loves tag team wrestling. It didn't used to be to this degree. I don't think it's quite got to grips with this main roster concept yet. Eric says, do you think Liv Mox versus... Mox? Nox? Do you think Liv Mox versus Liv Nox versus Ronda Shayna main events? Not sure. At this point, we still have Kurt Angle to come, and we got a little bit more with Bray Wyatt. We, of course, do have more with Karrion Kross and Rey Mysterio. So it could be in the middle of the hour, it could be the main event. I would like it to be the main event, but I don't think it will be with Kurt Angle being involved. Man says, when is Tiffany Stratton returning? Not sure. I don't have any information on that one. Justin Check says, I can forgive NXT for being developmental. Rampage has no excuse. Yeah, it's the second show, but you have Dark and you have Dark Elevation to be developmental. There you go. Brad saying, I watch NXT and love it. There we go. NXT does have an audience, and it's a strong one. I wouldn't say that they stop anyone from caring. I really enjoy the wrestling quality when I watch it. I just watch it very rarely. We currently have 30 viewers and only the 14 likes. That's twice as many viewers as likes. If you've not yet done so, please do hit that thumbs up. It does make a massive difference to the growth of the channel and the overall success rate of yours truly. The faster the channel grows, the faster I get to full time, and the faster I'm able to say, hey, I'm pretty good at this stuff. So if you're enjoying the show, you want more, for example, Raw watch parties, AEW watch parties, be sure to hit that like button. Kieran says the women carry NXT a lot. So I keep hearing. And that seems to be what they're aiming for with main roster at the moment. Ghost says, I would assume that Batista will be going in next year, but not as a headliner anymore. I agree. I can see Chyna, Melina, Victoria, Sid, the Hardys, if Jed's legal issues are figured out before then, and Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I suspect the headliner may be Vince McMahon, yes. But I also suspect Chyna's going to be in it. Bailey says, here's a Hall of Fame class. Dave Batista, Lex Luger, Mickey James, Midnight Express, and William Regal. Yeah, but he's not allowed to in front of the camera, is he? Hector says, I'm willing to give HBK the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not sure what to think of this Iron Survivor Challenge. It's still a little convoluted in my opinion. There's nothing particularly wrong with having a confusing match. The Elimination Chamber was initially confusing. The first one, though, is going to be a write-off because no one's going to know what's going on. It's going to be a write-off, so you have to commit to it and not give up immediately. The first Money in the Bank, people were confused. And that was okay in the end. Because you could work it out later. Nearly went full Yorkshire there, never got full Yorkshire. You could see Gunter sort of hovering, waiting for his moment to protect Vinci there. I do like that Kofi Kingston is the hot tag here. Admittedly, the most successful. With the amount of tag team championships, former WWE champion as well. the most successful of everyone in this ring. He is the veteran. It's only right that he is that hot tag. No, Sean, Mr. Kennedy is not someone that WWE put in the Hall of Fame. Randy Orton would be furious. Absolutely furious. This match does seem to be going the distance, suggesting to me that we're only going to have one more. Unless the plan for the women's tag is to make it so short as to be basically ignorable. That said, we have another commercial break. Imperium standing tall at the moment. Ghost says, keep in mind that next year the Hall of Fame ceremony will once again be held immediately following SmackDown, so we'll be in for another long night. Yeah. I'll actually have to change my overlay midstream. That'll be a moment. Imagine having to change your overlay midstream. I might have to wear my formal onesie. Because as you guys know, at the moment, I'm a red panda. Because red panda. But I might have to rock the formal onesie come WrestleMania time, come Hall of Fame. It's only fair. It's only fair. Man says, who do you think is going to defeat Jade Cargill and Mandy Rose? Choose one for each. For Mandy Rose, it's Roxanne. For Jade Cargill, I think it's Athena. There's your one for each. I've had to think about this before. And it's only worth discussing. Eric still wants the original Doink to be inducted. Justin Check says, Chris for Jade. No clue on Mandy. Alba was my choice, got screwed by a witch. There's always a witch. There's always a witch and there's always a lighthouse. Kieran says, I wonder how many tag titles Kofi has. It has to be about 15. He would be a record breaker if, and only if, he's able to win the championships tomorrow at Deadline. My man says, I want Tiffany Stratton to beat Mandy Rose. She never faced her. I don't think she'll get the opportunity. Roxanne has been groomed and prepared for this particular honour for quite a while now. That's who they want to have for that moment. The panda squashed my hair down a little, and I know you love my hair so much. You all really like the hair and you want it to continue. But it's starting to chill. I need to work on that. That is way too much hair. But it's cold. It's winter, guys. It's winter. Sean says, everyone said the Bellas didn't deserve the Hall of Fame nomination, but what about Tori Wilson? No hate towards Tori. I liked her, but it was countering what was said. Anyone who says the Bellas don't deserve a Hall of Fame induction is making a bad faith argument. There is no possible way to argue successfully that they do not deserve it. Ghost says, just wear the red panda through SmackDown, then when the Hall of Fame starts, change into one of those black shirts with a suit printed on it. To be fair, my immediate thought would be to, I don't know if I can actually do this, but bear with me and see how feasible this actually is. I love how it's an impromptu six-man tag. I'm going to rip this. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Formal red panda. Just like that. I am formal red panda. Doesn't quite work. Also, I had the sleeves rolled up and now they're just stuck in this bit and it's very tight. But it's not the worst thing I've ever done. Also, for those who don't know, the red panda has a tail. Can I do this without being obscene? Because I don't want to put it in the wrong direction. It has a tail. Which is very difficult when you're trying to sleep in it. I don't know how to take this off without damaging it. I'm going to try and see how it goes. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We did it. Success. But yeah, do that. Pop a tie on. Like, pop a tie on. Make it formal and official. I think we're onto something there. Sean says, I thought it was going to be Blair Davenport in the triple threat to unify the titles, but it wasn't. I agree, Tom. Roxanne beats Mandy, but if she doesn't, Cora isn't a bad shout. Bailey says Tom could go full tuxedo and then wear the red panda. Could just unzip and be tuxedo underneath. Go full True Lies. Crazy things have happened. Jermaine says, hey Tom, who do you think had the better wrestling career? Because if you remember, they started in WWE together, CM Punk or Kofi Kingston, and you can include AEW if you want when it regards to CM Punk too. I don't believe there's any real debate on this one. CM Punk has had the better wrestling career. The higher quality matches, the more memorable moments, the more championship wins. For me, there's very little doubt, very little question. Eric, I don't even know who's in the men's Survivor match. Couldn't even tell you. My man says, do you think Paige will be champion AEW? Yeah, no question. No question at all. She went there with a guarantee of championships. She would not have committed to it if not for that. Eric says, I think Hayter would have been perfect to dethrone Jay, but obviously we can't get that for now. Not for now, no. Jamie Hayter a little higher up in the echelons at the moment. There is a real element of carnage to this match. It's helpful that Gunter's the only one who can't fly around. Everyone else can flip, flop and fly. As in fact we're seeing right now as we speak. Sean says, is Blair on creative hiatus? Yes, she is. Still, to my knowledge, technically employed by the WWE, but they're just not that sure what to do with her. Very awkward Hurricane Rana there. Ricochet getting involved. Much better Hurricane Rana. Ghost says, I'm not sure if this is a hot take, but I would like to see the Hardys inducted with Lita. I know why it's not happening. It ain't. But Team Extreme as a trio is extremely underrated but influential. They can't even get Jeff Hardy to commit to it. They can't even get Matt Hardy to want it. I don't see it happening. Hector says CM Punk also wasn't squashed by Lesnar for an essential ratings boost. No, but to be fair, if you discount that, then you discount John Cena's achievements. He, after all, was also squashed by Brock Lesnar for a ratings boost. Just to make people tune into the Raw after. That was a real awkward landing from Ricochet. And that is a win for the good guys. Lost track of Gunter entirely by the end of that match. Marcel Bartel is the one who took the pin. Ricochet the one who got it. Even further cementing that he will not be winning the championship. Okay, Sean. I still have no idea. I don't watch NXT enough. You guys know this. I do what I can, but I don't have that much time. Man says, do you think AJ Lee will wrestle again? No, and let me tell you why. The reason I don't think AJ Lee will wrestle again is because of the crowd. Because let's say AJ Lee comes down for a wrestling match with Liv Morgan. And as she's coming down, the fans immediately start chanting, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. Now, just to put this into context, what they're essentially saying is, your husband, your husband, your husband. We don't want you. We don't want you. We don't want you. Someone else. Someone else. Someone. It's rude, but they would 100% do it. Omos is at the party. That's not Omos. He's a lot shorter than Omos. Sorry, I got confused by the beard. I feel bad for what I just said and I do apologise. The way he was standing and the beard made me think otherwise. I'm disappointed in myself for that one. Otis is wearing a tie, which is nice. The Street Profits have arrived. They can get into the party. They can get access to Kurt Angle. Chad Gable, of course, not able to. The Gable off continues to build. There is very much a Gable off coming. I'm excited for it. Oh, Eric, Marcel Bartel is Ludwig Kaiser. Eric says, did you say flip-flop Braun Strowman voice? No. No, I did not. Man says, you saw the new Megan horror movie. I don't know what Megan horror movie is there. Billy says, should Paul Heyman be considered for the 2024 Hall of Fame? I don't want WWE to wait until he's too old or his health gets in the way like it did with Bobby Heenan. I'm confident he's going to be very, very high on the list, but not yet. He's simply integral to the way that Roman Reigns operates at the moment. And I mean absolutely integral. You can't mess with success. So at the moment, I'd be letting sleeping dogs lie on that one. Personally. Fully deserving. His moment will come when he's ready, though. I think the reason he hasn't gone in so far is because he doesn't want to, rather than the other way around. We are heading into our last half hour of SmackDown. So far, we still have the women's tag team match to come, something involving Karrion Kross. I'd expect more with Braun Strowman, but not as of yet. LA Knight to basically find Bray Wyatt and take the beating as required. We haven't really seen Bray Wyatt yet. And of course, we have more with Kurt Angle, Gable Steveson, and, judging by what's just happened, Chad Gable. That's what I thought, Ghost. Megan made a horror movie. Sean says, when do you think Brock Lesnar will go into the Hall of Fame? When he's ready to retire, so it'll be a while yet. Ghost says, I believe that either one or both of the Hardys will be inducted within the next 5 years. I remember Matt saying something about Jeff turning down the Hall of Fame because they weren't inducting both of them together. But they'll definitely be inducted together first. Right. So, that was exactly what was happening this time last year. Jeff Hardy was invited to join the WWE Hall of Fame. He said, you've just fired me, and accused me of being high when I wasn't. No. They then said, okay, well, how about we induct both of you? And Matt then at that point said, no, you just fired him for nothing. We're not doing it. So they reached out to Chris Jericho, who said, I'm sorry, what are you thinking? What are you trying to do there? Wasn't a great moment for anyone involved. Like anyone involved. We have just broken 1,000 views on this here live stream with half an hour still to go. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone watching, everyone chatting, everyone who's hit like, and everyone who's actively subscribed as well. Every little does help, and it's you guys who are making me a success on these shows. The same is obviously said on Twitch as well. Everyone who chats, everyone who joins me, and everyone who follows. Always very glad to have all of you keeping me company on these long, cold winter nights. Always very grateful. Ghost says, fun fact, Jeff Hardy was fired from WWE a year ago today. What a year. What a year indeed. Feels like an absolute decade ago. We are backstage with the Bloodline. Sean says, would Jericho headline his Hall of Fame class? He wasn't going to, no. Hector says, not going to lie, I'd love for LA Knight to wake up in that creepy destroyed Firefly funhouse. I mean, that would be pretty cool. At this point, I feel like they're just partying the Bloodline. They're living the dream. Jay's holding Sammy back. Jey Uso wants some grooming from Sammy. Oh. Okay. They're definitely teasing the turn on Sammy, but I don't think we're there yet. Just that little moment of, hey, you're going to get a lot of respect next week, Sammy. Is he? Is he, though? Is he? I'm just... Every moment with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, I'm suddenly full of doubt. We are talking about John Cena's return one more time. Bailey says Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens should go into the Hall of Fame together. I disagree with that one. I I don't know about first ballot Hall of Famers just yet, but give them time and I'm sure they'll get there. Will says, with the partnership between AEW and New Japan not doing so good, do you know what made it turn, and was WWE a part of that? A large part of it, unfortunately, was just New Japan are very aware of their wrestlers. So, for example, if one of their wrestlers goes to Impact and is not treated very well, as Kazuchika Okada wasn't, they remember. They wanted more from AEW than they got. Karrion Kross and Scarlett are backstage with Rey Mysterio. Karrion seems chill, which I don't trust. As usual with Karrion, they showed Scarlett first. I don't understand why Karrion Kross is telling the stories of Scarlett's life. Why doesn't Scarlett talk about Scarlett's life? Does she not talk? The promo's not bad. Why isn't Scarlett telling Scarlett's story? There is suddenly a lot of talk about Rey Mysterio walking away from wrestling. Okay, I like what they've done there with Karrion. They've showed that he's not just a brute. He's not just brawn. Well, if you get the brawn element. Which is good news. They've shown a lot more personality there, so I think I'm more interested now than I've been for a while in Karrion Kross. Good work. Liv Morgan is on her way down. We will have our women's tag team match for the next 10 minutes or so. Jermaine says, hey Tom, did you watch the new series Wednesday on Netflix yet? And if you did, what did you think of it? Right, okay, I'm going to try and be relatively spoiler-free here. And just focus on certain things. I will briefly say that the general mystery was somewhat obvious, and I feel most people who have worked it out or have watched it will realise why it's pretty obvious. Going into the overall storyline though, I liked some elements, I didn't like other elements. Wednesday the character, I found unconvincing. I'm very aware of Wednesday Addams. I watched the Addams Family and Addams Family Values films quite a lot as a kid growing up. It's what made me comfortable with being weird. I still love Raul Julia's portrayal of Gomez and feel it'll be definitive for a generation and definitive for me as a person for a long time. Wednesday, though, was simply not the same character. She was never emotionless, but she was on the Netflix one. She was never mistrusting, but she was on the Netflix one. She was never malicious. She was just experimentative. There is, and there always has been in the Addams Family, a tremendous disregard and a disrespect for the concept of death, which wasn't there. There was an acceptance that you don't fight other people's battles. You know? I found it difficult to watch and enjoy. There were definitely moments when the characterization was spot on. But I can't say that I was convinced by the choices that they made with the character. I enjoyed watching some of it, but there was an episode in which you see a lot of the family itself, and the characterization and the personality was just wrong. I did not like that. Stepping outside of that, though, there are some very, very good characters. I particularly liked the character of the guy in the coffee house. I liked the roommate. I really liked the roommate. In fact, I just felt there was a really good comparison there. And I am unconvinced on season 2. More on that another time when I'm not worried about spoilers, but I would try and keep watching, but I can't commit to being that interested. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Ghost says, are we going back to short hair Sammy? Because I support that. We'll see. I mean, Jey Uso said a free, so that's not much longer than what I've got right now. Sean says, how does this sound? Naomi keeps turning down the bloodline, which forces Roman to attack Jimmy, friend to end his career if she doesn't join, and she does it to save Jimmy. I would rather her join by choice and just be a heel. I'd take that personally. Hector says, looks like Ray's recovered nicely from being beaten up by Dom and Rhea. Ghost says, I could see Big Show going in soon. I'm surprised he didn't get inducted already. They've asked him a few times, but he keeps saying, I want to keep going. No, Hector, Cousin It did not appear. Neither did Grandmama. There was only like the core family actually appeared. As I say, most of the characterization was completely wrong. The idea that the parents of Wednesday Addams would lie to her to protect her feelings is complete garbage. It's not right. I feel, and as a writer myself, as you guys know, I have self-published novels out there. I do feel there is a very clear divide on the ways that we write stories. Do we write the story and then write characters that fit the story? Or do we write the characters and then let them tell the story? Personally, I write the characters and I let them decide what the story is. That's especially difficult when you're taking on someone else's character. I feel that this story was written and then Wednesday Addams was added to it. Personally. Will says, now that you say that, it felt like everything a New Japan wrestler was on AEW TV that would lose would bank on the fans knowing who they are. Well, to be fair, I get what you're saying there. We also, after all, just had a vignette for the returning Tegan Nox. I'm just looking for a wire to plug my pad in. There it be. We just got a vignette for the returning Tegan Nox, which is obviously quite a good thing because it means we know who Tegan Nox is. We're just reminded of her motivations. And being reminded of someone's motivations is a very good thing. It tells you what they're going to do next. It's kind of important. We needed a reason for this tag team match. If we don't get it, we suddenly start to feel suspicious of it. We have another vignette for Lacey Evans, who I'd imagine will re-debut in the Royal Rumble, which is of course where she originally debuted. Hey Joey, how you doing? Chris Leclerc says, who's going to win Monday, Raw, Alexa Bliss or Bayley? I think Bayley. Joey says, I hear this hit row attack on the Viking Raiders wasn't good. It was okay. I mean, they built the Viking Raiders as completely unstoppable. Unless it's a steel chair, apparently. Peter's excited for Raw on Monday. Eric says, I really hope this is not like every other Liv tag team, minus Ruby, where she is fully invested, meanwhile the other person is looking for the exit door within 2 to 3 weeks. Liv and Rhea it had potential, and it just did not quite deliver, did it? In the end, a little disappointing. Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox have been stood in the ring waiting for a while. There is a definite contrast between these two. The black and white of Liv and all of the colour for Tegan. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler coming down together, doing the bully thing. The character of Ronda Rousey is, I'm above this. A lot of people don't seem to realise that that's actually the character that she's portraying. She's too good to be here. Of course, the annoying thing is that she proves that pretty much every time she steps in the ring. So it's hard to really play that card and make it convincing. Of course, Ronda is still the SmackDown Women's Champion. We're not seeing too much focus on that at the moment, but its time will come. Go says, who is your favourite tag partner that Liv has had so far? Just to remind everyone, she is tagged with Ruby, Sarah, Rhea, and now Tegan. Now, Ruby is a classic. Her work with Sarah Logan in the Elimination Chamber was very good as well. Rhea Ripley. There was something about that tag team that was innately, let's use the word exciting. And I think it's just how Rhea Ripley portrays herself, and honestly how Liv Morgan just plays along with certain things. I quite enjoyed it. Hector says, did you have a chance to watch House of Dragons yet? Interested to see what you thought of it. Honestly, still no. I prioritise Wednesday because Wednesday Addams is a big deal for me. House of Dragons, I'm struggling to be interested. I know Game of Thrones was a while ago, but I'm Game of Thrones now. I'm tired. I don't really want to go back to Westeros. I know I will eventually. I don't really want to at the moment. If you guys are interested, I will eventually start doing like TV reviews on a separate channel. Because why not? It might end up being part of the Colohue Empire, as it were. If you guys are interested in that. As then I'll be able to get my thoughts out there. Can maybe add that to the Colohue football and the Colohue. And the Colohue gaming side. Before you know it, Colohue will be everywhere. Bear with me one sec. Go says, with less than 20 minutes, an entire birthday celebration, and at least one more commercial break, this is definitely not getting a lot of time. Not surprised, but I would like to see more effort in the showing of the SmackDown Women's division. I agree. They could easily have cut a little bit of time off the opening match, which was not as hard as it could have been. It's not doing terribly. I do feel like they're going to give it what it needs. I don't feel it's going to be like a 5-minute match, but as introductions to Tegan Nox go, straight in there with Ronda, with Shayna alongside Liv, pretty good spot to be in. Ronda had to dive for that turnbuckle in the hopes of catching it there. Didn't quite get close enough before Tegan rolled. Liv Morgan with a lukewarm hot tag. The crowd didn't really respond for her there. I do feel like the crowd's just not really that responsive today though, so I'm not really blaming her for it. Sean says, he said WWE had to pay to use certain themes like Ronda's. How can WWE afford Ronda's if they couldn't afford Pat McAfee's? Well, the main difference may be contractual obligation. Contractually, they weren't required to keep Pat McAfee's, so they weren't required to pay. With Ronda Rousey, that's her entrance theme, and the WWE either pay or she doesn't make an entrance. Hector says, honestly, I'm just glad Ronda and Shayna are working together. Has to be a blast getting to show up and get to be around one of your actual best friends. It was a requirement. That was very much what they wanted. Raquel Rodriguez on her way down to the ring. Bit heelish, but we are where we are. Bailey says, does SmackDown have to be 100% live to meet the Fox contract? Even a 30-minute delay could allow some editing to make it a tighter show. It doesn't have to be live, but they want it to be live. The concern is that if you do have a 30-minute delay, what's happening is that everyone in the arena is texting on their phones, posting on Twitter, and saying, hey, here's what's happening. Joey says, I hope they have something interesting in this Kurt Angle main event. Hopefully so. I mean, I can't remember who it was during spoiler warning, but whoever it was absolutely right. Raquel Rodriguez distracting Ronda, and Shayna Baszler, dedicated loser for the team, takes the shiniest wizard and gets pinned by Liv Morgan. So Tegan Nox wins in her first match back. Better start than Emma. But it does service the storyline that is Raquel Rodriguez versus Ronda Rousey. We are backstage again. Montez Ford chanting, "You suck." Kurt Angle is heading down solo. Nakamura in a suit is always great fun. So, birthday celebration is indeed our main event. We will have our last commercial break, and then we'll have about 10 minutes, including entrance, to make something happen here. God knows what it's going to be. It's difficult to really rate this SmackDown. I can't say that much has actually happened. It's a status quo show. We saw a continuation of Ronda Rousey, Raquel Rodriguez. We saw a continuation of Viking Raiders versus Hit Row versus Legado del Fantasma. We saw a continuation of Sheamus versus the Bloodline. We haven't got anything new, really. We saw further build to Ricochet versus Gunter. That one's happening soon. But yeah, it's just, as Joey is saying, outside of the opening match, a very boring show. I would say the six-man tag was pretty good. High-quality wrestling. Just a bit silly. Joey says it's going to be a slow month for WWE since they don't have a pay-per-view. I do agree. They're doing what they can to maintain interest, but I just don't think they're able to. I expect that my views are going to ramp up pretty heavily as we get towards the Royal Rumble, though. Because ultimately it's a Royal Rumble. Hector says, Gable Stevenson beats down Kurt Angle to end the show is my prediction, says Hector. Sean says, does anyone know if She-Hulk and Andor are good? I haven't watched She-Hulk yet. I'm a bit marvelled out. I watched Hawkeye, that was the last one I really watched. Andor, haven't watched yet, but it's on my agenda. I don't think you guys are realising, I don't have time to watch TV, unfortunately. I want to get into a lot of these things, but I just find it really difficult. The next time I actually sit down and watch TV will be January 15th. And I don't even have the service in the UK to actually watch what I want to watch. But I'll find a way. Ghost says I give it a C. Both of the Prime matches were longer than the amount of time the women were seen on TV tonight, backstage segments included. The tag title match could have been shorter for sure. Maybe the birthday celebration will help, but the crowd overall has been dead all night. I'm not sure who could be involved that would really pop a crowd and make it all worth it outside of like a Brock Lesnar. Braun Strowman is basically lined up against Gunter already. We know that. They haven't played around. They haven't messed around. We know full well that that's the situation. Gunter is already involved elsewhere. Karrion Kross is already involved elsewhere. Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns aren't there. So who else could actually get involved? Logically, our main event is going to be a Gable-off. Kurt Angle says a load of stuff. Chad Gable gets involved. Says, shoosh. Threatens to attack Kurt Angle. Gable Stevenson comes down. Beats up Chad Gable. And that's kind of it. Eric, thank you. Yes, it was yourself. And yes, you were right. Shotzi was injured earlier. You were right. Sean said therefore the crowd on Raw was dead. No reaction for Alexa and others. Usually Alexa Bliss gets the reactions as well. I think unfortunately it's just not a very exciting time to be a WWE fan at the moment. War Games was good. War Games got us sort of recharged. But it's gone quiet since. They're advertising one more time the return of Roman Reigns next week. Michael Cole hoping that Sami Zayn is getting his makeover. Also, of course, Ricochet versus Gunter next week will be a hell of a match, but an obvious finish. And next week we have a Women's Tag Team Championship match as well. 2 championships on the line. Liv Morgan and Tegan Nox taking on Damage Control. So we have a guaranteed singles match next week at least, and a Women's Tag Team match. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Triple threat tag team match. Hit Row versus Legado versus Viking Raiders. Now we're on to something. It's all been building towards something. We're finally there. Several thousand people are about to tell Kurt Angle that he sucks. Yes, they are. For those who don't know, Kurt Angle once released a song on a WWE album called I Don't, and then in parentheses, suck. He sung along to his own theme, and even did a bit of rapping. If you're interested in stuff like this, find it. It's amazing. There's also on that same album the Rikishi song, Put a Little Ass on It. Put a little ass on it. Ghost says the crowds, as of maybe the last month and a half, with the exception of Survivor Series and Crown Jewel, have been pretty dead for the majority of the time. This is a down period for wrestling. Once we tick over into January, we'll start picking up, but right now, you'd expect it to be quiet. Hector says Jonathan Gresham appeared on Impact tonight. Was hoping WWE would make a play for him, but it would make sense considering Jordan Grace is there already. Kurt Angle has said all of a sentence, and Chad Gable is already on his way down. Sean says a new champion's crowned next week. I find it unlikely. Joey says apparently Asuka teased the return of Kana. Kana will not appear on WWE TV. Jermaine says, why book this match when you know Ronda and Shayna need to be booked super dominant? They shouldn't be losing at all. Tegan getting her first victory over Xia Li should have been the match. Disagree. Shayna Baszler is there to lose. Ronda Rousey stays protected, but Shayna Baszler is there, as she was in the tag team with Nia Jax, to take the loss. Eric says, I want to see loads of weapons in the triple threat match. Jermaine says it's almost a guarantee Ronda and Shayna interferes in Liv and Tegan Nox's title match against Damage Control because of the outcome tonight. Well, that certainly does seem to suggest we're about to walk into a lot of different teams in a tag team championship match. Maybe the February pay-per-view. John's upset by the lack of Sonya. Me too, mate. Me too. Hector's loving Otis's tie. It was made for a man with no neck. It's very fair. Chad Gable has very much fulfilled the utility role for a while now. He does a great job of it. When I was talking about Chad Gable and all his tag team partners earlier, I didn't even think about Otis. Seriously though, Kurt Angle has said one sentence so far. Ghost says, I heard it recently. Also featured songs by the Dudleys, Trish Stratus, Lita, Booker T, Rey Mysterio, and much more, called WWE Originals for anyone interested. I always like to talk about albums like that, and of course Macho Man Randy Savage's rap album. Particularly the Hulk Hogan diss track. The crowd have woken up at least a little bit. Chad Gable, very clever there. Using the crowd against him. Kurt Angle is walking away. To be fair, he actually can't defend himself at this point. Okay, so he brought a milk truck? Of course he brought a milk truck. Why would you... I mean, this is just fan service at this point. Gable Steveson on a milk truck. Who saw that one coming? Ghost says John Cena's album is still an underrated banger. That's actually completely fair. It's a very good album. Sean says Booker T said in NXT when Rhea was on there facing Roxanne that Rhea doesn't need Judgment Day and she can be a star on her own. Do you agree with Booker? Yes, I do. Rhea Ripley, I believe, will be the top name in the women's division within the next 3 years and will stay there for 10. Okay, they are just throwing open bottles of milk. Why? I don't know. This is just a thing that happens now. It's like the Milky Way. Really, really cold. Jermaine says, hey Tom, that's a really interesting take on Wednesday's Netflix series. I really do love her roommate and thing in the show and even Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester did stand out. And now we have the big squirt come. Kevin says, how was SmackDown tonight? I wouldn't recommend this SmackDown to anyone. Like anyone. Kurt Angle somehow has of course found himself covered in milk as well. Chad Gable and Otis running away. The cake's gone. So the whole point here isn't about Kurt Angle, Chad Gable or any of them. It's about the endorsement to Gable Steveson. Basically making a point of saying, this Gable Steveson guy, he's going to be a big deal. You should keep an eye on him. Oh, Michael Cole, what are you doing with your life? Friday Night Milkdown. What are you even thinking? So that was disappointing. That was disappointing. They didn't have enough time for Kurt Angle to actually sell anything, to actually react, to actually communicate. The actual match quality was still high, but I think the wrong matches got the long time. I think we could have got a lot out of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Tegan Nox and Liv Morgan. As is, Tegan Nox got beat up for 5 minutes. Liv Morgan looked good for 3 minutes, and that was that. Yeah. So I'm going to do a review in shorts straight after this. And I think all I'm really going to say is, yeah, I'd skip this one. I think I'd skip this one. Disappointing. With that in mind, though, it is 3 a.m. here, and I do have big plans for tomorrow. So I'm going to need to cut you guys off here. We will be back for spoiler warning on Monday, and we will have another Wednesday video coming before we have our usual spoiler warning and watch party on Friday as well. Stay tuned, hit subscribe, make sure you've hit like. More than anything though, massive thanks to everyone who joined us, and I hope to see you all again very soon. I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you very soon.